All right, I think we're live.
Awesome.
Nice to have you
Yeah,
here tonight, Eric.
yeah, nice to be here. Another Tuesday evening.
Yep,
Should be fun.
I agree.
I don't know if much has changed, but
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say a whole lot's changed here either.
since Saturday, I guess, but
Yeah, since,
you know, it,
um,
it is what it is.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk, maybe later tonight we'll talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that was revealed on Saturday. We certainly already talked about it at length, but I guess now
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we've had a little more time to think about some of the stuff, maybe we'll have some other or different insights to mention.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see how things progress tonight.
Yeah, nah, it's true. Like there were some neat reveals. I guess it's interesting to think like I don't know when they'll even be out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, right now with the ongoing pandemic, it's I think a lot of that stuff is pretty up in the air, and I can
Mm-hmm.
imagine things will just keep getting pushed back and pushed back. But who knows? We'll be
Yeah.
here eventually. They'll be here eventually, and that's fine. We have enough stuff to work on where we are
Yeah.
now. I guess that we can sort of segue into kind of what we've been working on as of late. Um, I've I've been working on painting bases. In this case, one of the bases is going to be the base for that little Eldar Bone Reaper model that I made.
Yeah. Are all of those sort of designed with the in mind of putting some of that mesh on top?
No, they're not. Only one of them.
Okay, just
Hey,
hey,
Wardstone. Nice to have you here today.
yeah, no, good to have you here. Hope you're doing all right, particularly in light of the pandemic and all that stuff. Hope you're safe, your family's safe, and maybe that you've had some additional time to do some hobby related stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Eric. So, of these bases, the one on the very bottom, I trimmed out in the center there. I trimmed off a lot of the extra plastic there, and that will allow me to inset the little piece of
Okay.
meshing, copper meshing, which I'll put there. And then the other two on top of that, you can see the silver areas. There's that like those raised areas. Those are what I like trimmed out.
Okay. Oh, well, thanks for listening to the live streams and such. And I mean, I guess it's good that you still have a job and you're still, despite all this, you're, able to keep doing stuff. So I mean, that's a blessing, I suppose. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's still tough, and I feel everyone's trying to come to terms with how their lifestyle and such has changed. But
Yeah. Hey, Meandering Shade. Nice to have you here as well.
yeah, like I feel I'm thankful that even though I can't do exactly what my normal kind of work schedule is, like a researcher, a molecular biologist sort of researcher, I still have other things I can do and I'm still getting a paycheck. So I feel pretty fortunate, even though, it might be boring at times or this and that, can't see family, but at least we're all safe and hell we can do these streams and such. So yeah, I feel fortunate.
Yeah, I agree. Same. That goes for me as well.
And I feel I have had some extra time to do hobby related stuff. Perhaps not as much as I hoped for, but still doing it still. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
Um,
what do you think you want? Are you going to continue to do other stuff with those bases, Adam? Like what's the next step or
Yeah, so I'm still experimenting with them. Like, certainly the one on the top, like, I haven't finished painting all of the silver areas. Um, and I still have to, on the base on the bottom, place in that little mesh insert of sorts in the center of the base, and then I'll
Hmm.
probably at least vaguely paint that.
Yeah, I feel
Um,
that's something that's tough, like how you go about painting that, because you like the mesh is so thin that, or like the good
mhm.
grading, that it could be pretty easy to fill it with paint if
Yeah, so I don't know. I might actually just airbrush it at least a little
that seems like
um,
it could be a good idea.
before gluing it, and then maybe just do a light dry brush here and there to
Yeah, I
work with
think
it.
that would be better than actually put like I'm gonna say wet paint on it because
Yeah. So for these bases, like the kind of grayish gunmetal type thing, that I painted that with these newer Artist Opus dry brushing Series D brushes. Um, they they work pretty well. Like it's a little hard to see from the pictures, but there's kind of a
can you zoom
gradient.
in on one of them a little bit? Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little
I'll
easier
try
to see.
to.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
and this
nice to
is
have you
one.
here, Captain Timberley. I hope you're doing okay.
So you can tell, like, the surface of it, it's not just like a flat color, and there's a subtle variation of.
Yeah, it almost seems like a very subtle stippling sort of effect.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I was going for. Um, and so I don't know, I'm pretty happy with them. Like, I still have some other weathering and stuff that I need and would like to do, but I've done some of that with some different oils and enamels on like the silver and a little on like the gray
Hmm.
itself. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're going okay.
Yeah, no, I mean that's good, and I feel bases are something that you want them to look nice, but you don't want them to be too distracting. So,
Yeah, no,
and I feel it's
it's
a good way to practice with sort of those dry brushes, since it's a little bit of a different sort of.
hey Dave
I don't often use
and
dry
Johnny
brushing,
as well.
and when I would, it wouldn't necessarily be with those sorts of thin, like short bristled brushes. But
No, yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty different from what I'm used to. One thing I will say, if anyone tries to use them, you you really should thin your paints before using them. And because if you don't, like, and you're not careful with it, you can easily apply like too much paint, and then you'll really start creating um,
a
a
texture.
texture, and that's not necessarily always what you want. Actually, see if I can actually find.
Yeah, well, I feel it's probably kind of a balance because, in some sense, that's a thing that dry brushing does. It creates texture, but
Yes.
you don't want to be so much that it starts to create like a very noticeable texture. Which I mean, if it's like a cloth or something, perhaps that's desirable, but
So
it
here
just
you can actually see here's a picture, an earlier picture where um, I have two of the same base up at the top here. The one on the right was an initial one that I had tried,
hmm.
and if you like, let's see if I can zoom in a little more on it. Um, you'll see here like this like stippling type thing. It's more than just like stippling. This is like actually like a raised rough surface. And so it sort of depends on like what you're going for, but like I guess if you were trying to go for like asphalt or something like that, maybe you could
Would
actually maybe
want that.
want
Yeah.
that. Um,
Hmm.
but for what I was working on, I didn't like it at all. Um,
Yeah. Whereas then the one next to it, like you can kind of see this sort of a subtle transition and
yes,
whatnot.
and there's a fair amount of like color variation
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's good. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice to hear that you're doing well, Timberley, and that you've had some free time. So that's good. And yeah, nice to see you here, Dave. But yeah, nah. So well, that's good that you're kind of experimenting with some new stuff, Adam, and you're having at least some success with it.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy. Like, pretty happy with it. Eric, I think you've started painting your next Sister of Battle. Is that right?
Yeah, nah, it's true. Like I had finished the second one, which I think we sort of talked about before, the Sisters Superior.
Yeah.
Um, and actually, I'm gonna send you. So yeah, it's a garbage picture I see. But I started to paint the next one, and thus far it's just been a lot of kind of the main base coats primarily,
Yeah.
and so they are largely down now. So I think I can will now be able to kind of go in and start to make the
Mm-hmm.
stuff look nicer, maybe do some highlights on the armor, darken some of the areas, and work on the silver more, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
um, so I feel it's finally getting past the rough stage. I mean, it's still basically in there, but I think everything or most of what I'll be able to do from this point on will look better
Yeah.
and it will start to be more exciting because it will look better. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I just want to kind of push through it and get on to the next one.
Hi,
Cause
Lifeboat. Nice to have you here as well.
yeah, because if I could get um, the whole like squad of them done, that would be great.
Yeah, no, it
That
would
would
be a
be
triumph.
great. Yeah, I think I put another picture. This is something we probably kind of people already may have seen, but it's the Sister Superior painted next to one of the first models I painted, which was like kind of a basically non-converted Primaris Marine painted as a Raptor from the Raptor Space Marine chapter.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the red and green looks kind of neat.
Yeah. Doesn't even look like Christmas colors.
No, so that's surprising. It's surprising. But yeah, so and interestingly, that the sisters are on Dragon Forge resin bases.
Mm-hmm.
That surprisingly, all the stupid rocks and stuff that are on these plastic sisters of battle, like
Work pretty
actually
well.
work pretty well with it, such that like I was able to use those bases that I maybe wouldn't have been inclined to use. So I mean that even though I
Yeah.
think Dragon Forge makes some of the nicer resin bases, it's still
Mm-hmm.
I often find you just doing them yourself, you can make something better. But for doing something rather quickly and such, I think they're really nice. And
Well,
yeah,
both of those models are on Dragon Forge
yeah, they
bases, right?
actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both Dragon Forge bases.
I always kind of like the weight of the resin bases.
Yeah, particularly on these sort of plastic models,
Mm-hmm.
it adds some weight to it, and they harder to knock them over, and it gives them a little heft. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah. Oh, I guess we also. I remember maybe in one of the other streams you were talking about buying like a paint rack or something,
Oh,
right?
that's true. Yeah, so
I
because
think you got it. Yeah.
I did oh yeah, so I realized that my desk is just have just paints everywhere, just in a broad pool, and so I decided I should look into seeing if there was any sort of relatively inexpensive rack to hold some of the paints. And this is just a portion of the paints, but these are a lot of them are kind of the ones that I was, or a bunch of them are ones I was using to paint the sisters. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this was from Warped Forge Games. It's like maybe $23 or something to that effect. and it's just like an MDF thing that you're easily able to like kind of snap it together. I mean, I guess I could have potentially put some like glue or wood glue or something, but I didn't even do that. But it's been pretty nice, and it has like a little place that you can put some of your brushes. And I mean, it only fits the Vallejo style dropper bottles. Like you could buy
Hmm.
it made for GW paints and some other types of paints, and maybe you could even mix and match them. But since the majority of my paints are Vallejo ones or Scale 75 stuff, I guess other than contrast paints, which I
Hmm.
admittedly have a handful of them. So I don't know. It's never gonna be perfect because I feel most people use kind of a range of paints,
Yeah.
but it's still nice to have them like this, such that I have some of my silvers or reds and grays and stuff, and I can just keep them kind of in an order
Order.
from like the darker to lighter or whatever, such that it's easier
Hmm.
for me
Or
to
you could
like
get
keep
another
track
one,
of.
Eric, for the Citadel paints.
Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't. Well, I mean, I guess I could make space for it, but I don't know if I.
I also see you have that Vallejo metal color, one of the silvers.
Yeah,
Have you
it's
used
actually
that at
a
all?
gold one. I
Oh, it's
haven't
gold.
used it yet. I mean,
Okay.
I've heard it's pretty good in like the airbrush, and it actually has like a metal agitator in it already.
Oh, that's nice.
But yeah, I've heard that it's really nice through an airbrush, but I haven't really had a model that I thought that would work well with, I guess.
Yeah.
And towards that end, I mean, I guess I could try it just with a brush too, but I haven't gotten around
Yeah.
to it.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I've heard they're pretty nice. I've never purchased any, so I can't really comment on it at
yeah,
all.
I got one, and well, it just sits here. Someday, I
Perfect.
guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. The paint rack has been kind of nice, and like up at the top, I just have a lot of the different like matte media, varnishes, chipping media, and just kind of random stuff like that, such that if I do need them, it's easier to find rather than having to wade through a drawer of paints.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll have to try and get some of those paints as well because I don't know. Metallics are certainly an interesting thing. Um,
Well, actually, meandering shade. So you used a bunch of these metal colors. Have you used them like with a brush, or has it primarily been as an airbrush, or both? Because
yeah. I mean,
yeah, because I feel in general, gold paints are often kind of garbage, or like they're really thin, and sometimes
mm-hmm.
it's better if you paint them over like a brown or something to like actually get that gold look to them.
Yeah.
Either that or just lots of coats. But so,
They also the different components often come apart pretty quickly, so you really
oh
need to
yeah,
make sure you
that's true. Which I don't
shake
admit
them
that
well.
I don't know if this and some of the stuff if they're too long, like it just never goes back.
Yeah, no,
So,
I hear that.
now I wonder. Yeah, I guess I should try to use it just to see
Yeah.
what they're like.
You could probably
But
find some little silver thing that you could even airbrush, I would imagine.
yeah, so Vince Venturella, yeah, and he actually there's, I think Vallejo makes another um, gold paint line that actually has like metal in them or whatnot, and you don't just use water for them, I don't believe,
Oh,
and you have to like seal them afterwards because they'll actually rust
that's crazy.
if they're not.
Yeah.
But they kind of can go bad if you don't store them right. But supposedly they're like really good to the point that they actually look like gold in the sense that it will reflect light like gold will, like depending on where the light is, such that you don't really have to paint in the light source. But I don't remember what they're called. Yeah, as you said, meandering shade. Yeah, I think it's like an alcohol-based thing. And Vince has some videos on them too. Like he has, admittedly, has lots of pretty good videos.
Yeah. Too many things to try. Actually, Eric, in your painting station, you have that one larger brush in front of the little station. Do you use that for anything? What do you use that for?
Sometimes if I'm doing like oil, like pin washes and stuff,
So just to like streak them down.
yeah, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Though actually, this one's kind of a garbage one. It's like kind of destroyed from some of that stuff. But and I also used it for like when I was painting those large floor tiles for doing oils sort of stuff. Like it helps to have like a larger thing like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that. Okay, so that's I guess kind of what we've been working on as of late. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to mention or talk about
Um,
in relationship to that before we maybe move
I don't,
on?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Captain Timboy says I've been picking up the Altov Chrome, an insane paint can create a mirror finish even on miniatures. Whoa, that's interesting. Huh. Yes,
Hmm.
that's there's so much stuff out now that you can like work with that I think makes
Mm-hmm.
it kind of more interesting and more fun than ever to be like painting models and such.
Not yet. It is true.
Okay, so I guess one thing that we could talk about is I know, yeah, Colonel has been doing some kit bashes and stuff as of late, and he's been making more videos on his YouTube channel, kind of talk of him sort of showing you how he goes through some of his conversions and showing you firsthand how he does some of them. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, so he recently put up a video that's like 44 minutes long of him showing various aspects of his process, and I think it's a good listen. Um, and he sort of talks about some of the tools he uses and like why he uses certain ones, and I think that in itself is can be very helpful because I think most of us, when we're modeling, you eventually settle on a couple of tools that you use and then largely do everything with that, and you don't necessarily think to like branch out or like, oh, you know what, this is a tool I should be using. And I think that is worthwhile. And I guess also if you're interested in doing a conversion similar to some of these cool little mech suits and stuff he makes, watching some of those videos can be helpful as well because seeing kind of the physical thing is often easier than at multiple different angles is often easier than just looking at some of the still photos. But I guess related to that, from our, if you haven't listened to our podcast where we have an interview with him, it was largely because of that chat that I got another one of these like one of these little like razor saws,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really nice. And I feel like this is one of the tools that I should have had like years and years ago. Um, because if I had, I think it would have made certain projects and stuff that I was working on a lot easier, or at least more
Mm-hmm.
uniform. Um, So yeah, like any of that stuff, I think can be worthwhile. Here, let me actually. Yeah, so here I have like YouTube up. He has a YouTube channel by his like the same handle as he has on Instagram. Oh, so actually, if you look here, um, Eric, do you see? If you're looking at it, Eric, in his little intro, he shows him taking out some of the tools that he uses, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
neat. Well, in there, he has that a little like X-Acto blade, and I don't remember the name of that blade, but they make those little blades where just the blade parts are really really small.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about why he uses those is because it allows him to like cut towards himself, and then the bottom of the like if you're using a standard like size 11 blade, you're always essentially pulling the bottom part of the blade or pushing it into your finger. And those
Oh,
little
and it's
shorter
not.
blades, like you can cut, you have a little more control cutting towards
So
yourself,
that's a
and you're
good
not gonna
idea.
be pressing the bottom of the blade into your finger. Yeah, so I've never actually used those little blades, but
Would be interesting to try.
yeah, I've
I,
certainly never. I think they
yeah,
take
yeah,
some getting used to because, and I would almost feel like I'd run through those blades really quickly
yeah.
because, I mean, I feel I run through X-Acto blades pretty quickly as is because after even just a little bit of use, there's a noticeable difference in its
Mm-hmm.
like cutting ability and quality. So in this case, since the usable portion of the blade is just so much smaller, think you'd be
Yeah.
running through them pretty quick. But I don't know. It might be maybe I might actually go and try one
Mm-hmm.
because it's certainly true with the size 11 blades. Um, it's pretty easy to cut yourself depending on
It's
how you're
true.
using them.
It's true.
Hey Eli, nice to have you here too.
One thing that's worth noting, if anyone, I'm sure a lot of you follow Colonel on his Instagram account, but if you don't, you should follow him on his YouTube channel as well, because currently he's trying to get up to 1,000 followers, which that's kind of the um, YouTube restricts live streaming from YouTube unless you have 1,000 like followers, and he's hoping that he could do streaming like from like a tablet that he uses directly to YouTube rather than just strictly on Instagram. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's restricted. You need a bunch of followers, which
dang.
admittedly, the only reason we're on being able to stream this very stream on YouTube is because the stream is going through Streamlabs OBS. And since it's a third party thing, it allows it, and I guess YouTube hasn't restricted that yet for whatever reason.
Okay, so that it just
But
gets around, huh?
yes, so because we sure as hell don't have 1,000 followers on YouTube or Twitch,
Just sure down.
but
Um,
it gets around that. But I guess it that brings up a thing, an interesting thing. Is streaming, I guess, is kind of a complex thing unless you I guess have done it before or whatnot. Because even with the stuff Colonel's doing, even if he gets 1,000 followers, the only way he'll be able to do the streaming is if he does it directly from the tablet he's recording from through the YouTube app itself. Because otherwise, he would need like a capture card
oh
and to
yeah, yeah,
interface
yeah.
with the computer and all that sort of stuff, which is just more stuff to buy. And I guess that's kind of where we're at the moment. Like, because I feel it would be, if we'd really want to start to do some more streaming of painting or any sort of hobby related stuff, anyone who's seen us stream before, whenever we do go to like the hobby desk thing, Adam, you have like, since it's just like a suspended webcam, it does a terrible job of like focusing on things and the quality isn't that
Yeah,
good.
here I have it up now.
Um,
It's bad.
but eventually, it would be cool, and I think we'd like to invest in a capture card such that we can like hook up like a nicer camera, or honestly even like a phone or something, such that then it can interface with the computer such that we can display that. See, I see Adam, it's there, it's struggling to focus on the base, but
I can't do
so,
it. I had
so
it
I
for a
feel,
second.
oh yeah, so I feel that all that's to say that, yeah, follow Colonel and on YouTube, because his stuff's neat, and it would be cool to see him do more of that. And kind of on our end, hopefully at some point in maybe the relatively near future, we'll get a capture card and be able to experiment with doing a little bit more, hobby related stuff rather than just chatting like this, which admittedly we'll still keep chatting like this every week, but
Yeah.
um, it would be neat to experiment with some of that other stuff and it just work better. But I guess with everything, every hobby or anything you're doing, there's so many hidden costs that, like, oh, it would be better to have this and that, and
Yeah.
but yeah, so maybe in the future that'll be something that happens.
Well, I guess related to that, I know, like, so we do have like a nicer camera that we could use for that. Is that I don't even, is it a Nikon? I don't even
Nah,
remember.
it's a Panasonic, I
Oh,
think
God, yeah,
X85, GX85. I don't know my
cameras, yeah.
mirrorless like DSLR like cameras very well, so sorry if I'm butchering that stuff. But I mean, it's certainly nicer than a webcam, and I think it could shoot in 4K and all that stuff. But admittedly, not that
It's not
YouTube or
really
Twitch
helpful.
supports that resolution streaming. But I guess it could have be the opportunity to like record some hobby related stuff at a higher quality to then later post on like YouTube videos or something.
Yeah.
Because years and years back, I did some garbage unboxing videos.
No, yeah, they're still on the
Yeah, they're
YouTube
still
channel.
on the YouTube channel, but I guess we could do better versions of that in the future if we,
I feel if we would only do them very rarely, if we
yeah.
have particularly interesting things or comments. Like,
Hmm.
you know what would be great? If we ever set this up, we could do an unboxing and a review of the plastic Necromunda Orlocks.
Oh, the ones that we talk so fondly of. Well, it would be fun whenever we get that
Yeah.
Bandai Space Marine.
Oh, yeah, that's true
Might
too.
be a fun thing to, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
This actually is sort of going back to an earlier conversation had, but the gold paint I was talking about was Vallejo liquid gold. I think I put a link, maybe it was just to an Amazon storefront thing in the
Oh.
chat. And in the actual YouTube chat and Twitch chat, I also put a link, which was actually to Vince Ventrella's. He is like a YouTube sort of tutorial thing talking about these paints and how he uses them and whatnot. It's just a pretty good video, if anyone's interested in it.
Well, if you look at it, like, if you look at the silver paint in this image, you can almost tell, like, you can tell it has what I guess is, like, pieces of, like, metal and stuff in there. Yeah, it's sort of.
Yeah, but in the video that mentioned, it's pretty neat because he like kind of compares like maybe like a GW gold or whatever, that when you paint it on and look at it, it's just kind of this flat gold. Then he looks at like I guess his wedding ring, which is gold, and depending on how he turns it with the light, you can see how the light reflects in different ways, and then using this liquid gold stuff, it like pretty nicely approximates that just because it's like actually like a real metallic sheen. Like it's pretty neat. And I feel if you want to mess with it, I think it could result in some pretty neat effects. But, there's always
I'm
another
just
gold
like looking
paint you
at
could buy.
on the Amazon like comments and stuff. Here's someone. This stuff is wild. The coverage is unprecedented. One layer and it's totally opaque, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, that's not what you think of when you think of gold. Gold paint. Mm-mm. But yes, I think it's pretty good, but I think it's something also that if it separates like badly, like you just it's gone. But yeah, so maybe well, I guess I have to resist. I can't buy it. Just buy it, not use it. I'll wait until I have something that I need that for.
Yeah, clean
Which
it out more.
admittedly, if I was painting, Ward Sylvania painted some awesome Sisters of Battle that he converted with the unmade masks from Warcry that are largely gold. They like if you'd want to do a scheme like that, it seems like it would be an ideal thing to paint with that
Oh, so
liquid
this is
gold
actually like a
stuff.
settle. Yeah, that's really interesting. Huh.
But
I
yeah, you
wonder,
should watch
does anybody
Vince's.
know what like gold paints and stuff Miggs used for his like Dante conversion?
I don't.
I
He
want to actually,
probably
I'd be sort of,
said.
yeah, I'd be sort of interested to look back into that because, like, I feel like some of these might be kind of interesting for that.
Yeah.
For
Yes, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. Okay, well, so I don't know. I think that we've probably talked about that enough. I don't even know, like, what else do we even want to talk about tonight? I guess this weekend on Saturday, there's gonna be another um
Reveal.
yeah, so maybe we'll have another stream for that stuff. We'll see. We could go back and talk about some of the reveals that we already like labored over the weekend.
Yeah, well, people in the chat, was there anything that was revealed that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily have anything too different to say about these models. Hmm. Fabus Bile has a big nose. I think Eric, we might have lost Eric. Maybe his computer locked up. Actually, what Eli? Those new Lord of the Rings trash models are pretty exciting. um. Oh,
Did I
Eric,
lose?
you were.
Uh,
It looked like you froze for a while.
well, okay.
The war cows are pretty cool. I think they're cool. I don't know if I would necessarily want one, but they would certainly be interesting for different conversions and stuff.
I feel with the 28 magazine's new challenge for like making a different Chaos God or something, they would be something that could be pretty fun to work with
Yeah, no,
and
that's actually
make it
true.
more creepy looking.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's a lot that you could do with it.
Yes, I think I feel I kind of like it. It's how eccentric and odd it is, but you don't necessarily foresee
You could
any.
only really buy it if you had a very clear vision of what you were wanting to do with it. I think the hammer elves, those are Eric's frozen again. The hammer elves, those are more obvious. Like I think those could be very easily taken and used for all manner of conversions. Hey Eric, are you back again? You froze, and maybe you froze again. Oh, Eric, you're back?
I think so.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I don't think
I realized. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
I realized I had a VPN up that I need to use if I to remote into my work computer,
Oh,
and I think that may have been the problem, that sometimes the connection is kind of garbage because of it.
yeah.
But well, yeah.
The Warcry models look pretty good. I still don't know if like there's anything that I would rush out to. Like maybe if I was trying to convert more like Sisters of Sigmar and stuff, like a lot of them I think would work really well for that. Although I was in looking at some of these, man, her hands are just so big. Yeah, her hands are too big. I think her feet are too big. Um, he looks terrible. She looks good. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I think I almost think what I need to start doing is now this year is really get back into our whole conversion corner mentality and just start trying to quickly convert more miniatures. Because I mean, we have just a backlog of so many miniatures and stuff that I feel like we'll just never do anything with.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I spent like I mean, fuck this the Eldar model that I'm working on. Like I spent several months just on that one model, and like, wow.
Well, when you finish it, it will be great.
I guess, yeah. Um,
Or like, yeah, I mean, you very vaguely start to cut up one of those sisters of battle, to make maybe like an astropath or something.
yeah, no, that's true. I should try and get back to that, and I should also convert some more Space Marines. I should convert one Space Marine every month.
If we want more followers, the most Instagram people love Space Marines.
That's true. No, but that would actually be kind of interesting. Wait, what does Captain Timbley say? The new elves are really getting some interesting models or for conversions. What I like most from the reveals. Or yeah, the new Warcry warband is cool. Yeah, like the ladies in the Warcry warband are all pretty good, and I feel could be used for all manner of things. Um, and what's one of the things that's interesting about them? They have all the different fire effects and stuff, and for the most part, they don't look that bad. Like I know,
Hmm.
um, sometimes Games Workshop goes really overboard with some of the different like kind of like particle effects and flames and whatnot, and they kind of look a little dumb. But a
Yeah.
lot of, and I guess in some regards, and maybe in their defense, sometimes it just depends on how it's painted. Um,
Hmm.
but here, overall, I kind of like them, and a lot of I think their masks would work really well for interesting. Like you could just this burning guy, you could take his head and put it on all manner of different things, and it would you'd kind of instantly have a very different looking and interesting model. Um,
Yeah, I like the mask there that it has. I like the mask.
this big dude with the flaming axe, I feel he's kind of like this is like the standard mod. Like nearly every Warcry warband has one of this type of model.
But I mean, it's cool that the warbands have like a larger model.
Yeah, and I think in also in his defense, he kind of his posing largely makes sense. It's not as kind of ham-fisted and awkward
Yeah.
as some of the other models in some of the different Warcry ranges are.
Well, I guess we have the general. What do we think will be revealed next? For like next this coming weekend.
Well, I mean, did they're these the stuff that they're talk are going to talk about, like all of this was going to be revealed at Adepticon, is that true? And
That's true.
they're just spreading it out
Yeah.
because okay. Because I mean, they talked about this being like the most impressive and
The biggest
biggest.
yet.
Yeah,
And
so
based
like
on what we saw here, which I mean the stuff was good, it isn't substantial yet.
no, like I don't. It's not very different from some of their other releases and stuff.
Yeah. I mean I guess they
So
probably saved a bunch of stuff. Like they kind of didn't show any 40K stuff. I mean, they showed Fabulous Bill, but everyone kind of knew that was gonna happen. And
yeah.
I mean,
So I don't know. Maybe they'll have larger announcements about some of the different game systems or something. They might show another one of the
yeah, I
Necromunda.
mean, last year for Adepticon, they like had some stuff shown for like pretty much all of their games. So like,
So maybe they'll show the third like installment of maybe like new models for the Warlocks.
yeah, because we
Maybe the
already saw
new.
the Escher and they weren't great.
Yeah, maybe the new Warlock models. Maybe they'll get them right this time, which would be great because then um, you'd have more plastic models and it'd be just a really weird. They'd probably look really weird next to one another.
Yeah, it's true.
But I would imagine they'll follow suit with the plastic ones already and be kind of meh.
Oh yeah, because so much of what was revealed last weekend was like everyone knew the Lumineth were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
People pretty much knew Bill was coming out.
Yes.
They we knew this other warband was coming out. We hadn't seen pictures, like, but it was all very
They were probably the most. This warband, the Warcry warband, was the most surprising because I feel
hmm
a lot of people, unless you really cared about Warcry or were paying attention to it, you sort of forgot that there was another
yeah,
warband.
yeah, it's true.
um, yeah, but yeah, so they'll certainly show something for Necromunda. The most obvious thing would be another
Yeah,
the next gang and like a
I
set
guess
of new
some people
models for
think there
them.
might be the next edition of 40K.
Yeah, I wonder how do you think like the wider community will accept that?
I don't know. I feel it'll just be like an update sort of thing, and it won't be that major.
Oh, here on Agro X Craig asks something. When do you think the new Lumineth will be released? I feel that's very, very up in the air. Like, I mean, I think Games Workshop they made a statement that they would be essentially everything would be closed until a certain point, which I don't. Sometime in April, I believe. I would imagine once that April date arrives, the pandemic and such will still probably be at large, and they'll push that back even further. So
hmm
I wouldn't be surprised if the earliest the Lumineth stuff would be released would be in like certainly at least a month, probably more like 2 or 3 months before it's
Yeah.
actually released. Um, so if you're excited to use them for just like an army or like new conversion stuff, we probably have a while to wait.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Gee, actually, Captain Timberlake kind of echoes that sort of sentiment that he thinks that um, they won't even show as much reveals as they plan to at Adepticon just
Mm-hmm.
because you have like the quarantine stuff that
because like you get all people all excited about new stuff, and it's like, well,
We have
you'll be
no idea
able to
when
get
they'll release,
them this
and
fall. Or
they
you'll leave it
probably
like that.
don't want to release like, oh well, in one weekend release 2 months of their planned releases.
Hey, Vox, nice to have you here too. I don't know. I would almost imagine, like, I pay very little attention to the 40K competitive scene. Like, I've watched some stream tournaments and
Yeah, I
stuff.
don't care about the
Um,
rules update. Yeah, like I
but
probably played one game of 8th edition,
that's pretty
I
good,
think.
Eric. But so, like, I don't know. I
So,
almost feel like, so, I feel a lot of people would be sort of upset with it because but then again, like the people who are, because I don't know, I think overall, like a lot of the people who play competitively, like overall, maybe I'm wrong, but I think people sort of like this edition. Yes,
I think
no.
they do.
um,
Well, I think one of the things they like is the fact that they actually release at least two FAQs a year, I believe. So they're
yeah,
like actually kind of paying attention to things,
yeah, more so than
which actually,
other
towards that
forums.
end, they'll probably be the next kill team. Like, you would think they might have some announcement about kill teams, like, oh, we're adding Psychic Awakening shit to kill team or
Hmm.
something, something. The next big expansion, like after Elites, that sort of thing. But I don't know.
Yeah, so no, that's true. Eli's mentioning here that like the psychic awakening thing is just kind of here now and stuff, which I assume was all written with like the current rule set. So, but I'd
Hmm.
almost imagine like I wonder if they would release a new edition. Like, I mean, certain editions of the 40K of Warhammer 40,000, like the change between them hasn't been a whole lot. So like. And I
Yeah, I feel if
remember
they
a
would,
lot
they'd
of
want to
those
keep that
they
stuff.
sort of tried to design some of like the latter rule releases to still largely agree with or work with any newer rule sets.
Hmm.
So like I don't know.
I'm glad to be at a place that I don't really care about that.
Yeah, I think
To not really care about that. Did
yeah,
we? I mean, I don't even think we bought the 8th edition rule book. Admittedly, it was like kind of like the
that was
short
with
rule
Dark
book.
Imperium.
I don't even remember.
The Dark Imperium. Or wait a minute, was that what the newest version of the game? They released it with the new Primaris Marines. Is that
Hmm.
true?
Yeah,
Dark
yeah,
Imperium, that was the name of the game. So I
yeah.
remember I purchased that rule book. I bought it.
Hmm.
I have it. Um, and I remember related to that, which was sort of interesting. Yeah, Dark Imperium came with the hardback, and then I
Oh
went
yeah.
and literally bought the hardback because I didn't want all the models, which was probably stupid, but that's what I did. Um, and I
Did you
remember
ever look at it?
I did. I read most of the background in
Oh
it,
damn.
and I remember being pretty impressed with it overall. Like how they presented a lot of the stuff. It seemed plausible and not that stupid. Whereas like some of the other stuff that was released before that, with like the destruction of Cadia and all of that
Yeah,
stuff,
the
I
Gathering
remember
Storm
the
stuff,
Gathering
or
Storm or whatever it was called. It doesn't even matter. I remember reading some of that. Like I
the
bought the
first
first
Gathering Storm book was pretty
I
bad.
bought the first two of those books. The first one where Katie was destroyed. That the writing in it was horrible, or maybe not
It
horrible, but
wasn't
it
even.
wasn't
I
good.
mean, not. It was just like such a.
The scope of
The
it was
scope
bad.
was weird and
Where
more
like
like a
they'd be
Marvel action film.
yeah, they'd be talking about like the destruction of a planet, and then in the next like paragraph they'd jump back down and talk about like some Valkyrie flying in and destroying like a Chaos Space Marine dreadnought or something. It's just like what? Like why are you talking
Yeah,
about that?
Yeah,
And
the
then I
scale
remember
was so off.
it still wasn't enough to defeat me, and I bought the next one with like the Eldar with um
Aeneid
yeah,
or
all that
whatever,
stuff,
and
and that I read maybe about half of it before I just couldn't take it and stopped. Um,
yeah, I stopped.
well, actually,
I
I don't know.
almost
Maybe I'm
think the
wrong.
third
Did
one
that
would have
come out
been
before or after Dark Imperium?
before.
Yeah, I think it
I'm
was
pretty
before.
sure.
Um,
I feel the third one was probably the most interesting one because Gilliman was in it, and
yeah,
Cypher and
yeah,
Gilliman
I didn't read
being
any of that.
woken up and being disgusted of how the Imperium was. Like I feel that was the most interesting thing,
Yeah, see, I
but
think
I
that
don't know
could be
how if that was
interesting,
written well or not.
but
I
yeah, I
don't
didn't
know.
read any of it because wow, I know there's certainly been a lot of hate and a lot of dislike of the Primaris Space Marines and stuff, and even like myself included, I'm not too jammed about them. Never really was. But there is a lot of potentially interesting storytelling and like character
Yeah.
development stuff that could be had if it was kind of like explored well.
Mm-hmm.
But
Who knows?
actually having the foresight to do all of that and I feel is hard and probably not really within the scope of what GW is often trying to get in their
Yeah.
codex books and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I guess all this whole tangent came from asking if we thought they'd reveal a new edition of Warhammer 40,000, and well, I would like to think no, but I mean, who knows? Oh shit! Hopefully they have a new version of Dreadfleet. Fuck yeah,
That would be
Dreadfleet.
a surprise and delight to all.
But
Well,
it
I
would
mean,
be
admittedly,
better.
if they were releasing
Man of
well,
War.
Man of War, I mean, I guess
That would be
that would be
cool.
kind of fun. That would be better than Dreadfleet.
That would be better than Dread. Or just re-release Dreadfleet and make the ships in scale with the ships for Man of War.
Yeah, that's true. That would be cool. That would be cool.
Maybe they'll have another thing for Blackstone Fortress, like another
That's
more
certainly a
major
possibility.
expansion.
That's certainly a
Hopefully, one
possibility.
that has no like chaos bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. That would be better. Or I mean, if they're well, yeah, no, just no chaos.
Oh, Meandering Shade was wondering if maybe they'd announce some other like specialist game thing, like going back to Battlefleet Gothic or something. That would also be cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because I almost feel like yeah, like Battlefleet Gothic would be neat. And I mean, considering like all the work and stuff they've done with like Adeptus Titanicus and Aeronauticus Imperialis and stuff, like so they've already been revisiting like a bunch of those types of games. So like I feel it almost certainly will happen eventually. Um,
Yeah, I feel people loved the
Battle
that game,
Battlefield Battlefleet
Battlefleet
Gothic.
Gothic. Yeah,
Yeah, we never played that or really. I mean, I think we have a few of the models, but like not a whole lot.
yeah, I have a couple,
But
but I never played it.
I remember that the game came out um, right when we were in high school, finishing up high school, and I remember in our high school we had to have like a graduation project or something where you had to like do something or like make something. And I remember I was strongly considering having my graduation project be buying Battlefleet Gothic and assembling and painting all of the ships.
That would have been
That would have been worthwhile because, like, most of that, God,
Something worthwhile coming out of high school.
graduation projects are such bullshit. Like,
uh,
like everything I
yeah.
did in high school is bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they do more with Blackstone Fortress, they really have to push heavily into the Xenos and like alien races.
Hmm. But I
Um,
mean, even if they
like
did
even
more
if they
with
went and just did some more
chaos,
like Kroot or like Tau and stuff, it wouldn't even have to
yeah,
be like alien
new
races
stuff.
that were only really shown in like
Well, I mean, they could even do more with chaos, but it just can't be like some more blah chaos cultists or like now we're adding plague marines like that.
oh, so we can comment about that like when the latest Blackstone Fortress thing that they released was the thing with like the Nurgle Plague Marines and stuff, and
The
like
three
that.
snapfit ones that came in that first strike starter box. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. And like I remember on Instagram they posted something talking about it, and then like almost immediately people started putting they weren't even
Negative
negative
comments.
comments, they were just comments saying like why didn't you change the bases on these models? Like they still have grass and shit or like and then I remember I even posted a comment saying something along the lines of that these space marines looked so tiny. These plague marines look so tiny next to like the rogue trader and stuff in Blackstone Fortress, and was wondering like why they didn't put
Scale
a
them
little more
to
effort to scale the marines properly. And then within like a few minutes, my comment was deleted, as
yeah
well as a
they
lot of the other comments. So for some reason, Games Workshop decided they would
their
delete.
community team.
Yeah, their community team decided that it would be a good idea to start deleting comments and stuff. And like the ones that they deleted, they weren't even like really negative. A lot of them were just bringing up semi-constructive points. And
Yeah.
then soon after that, people started commenting like, "Why are they deleting our comments?" And then I
Yeah.
think they realized that they had to stop doing that, and they just gave up.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I thought that was funny. Um,
Deleting comments is never good because yeah, most of them weren't even.
it's not like they were like saying like "fuck you," like this is such a lazy cash grab, or like none of that. It was like, man, like you didn't even put in the effort to change the bases on the models and stuff. So like I don't know. It was certainly not their strongest effort for Blackstone Fortress, particularly
It was
when
basically no effort.
well, yeah, particularly when in the past, like all the other Blackstone Fortress stuff,
Was
most of
good.
it was all very interesting, and they put a lot of time and effort into it.
What's interesting though that like I could see the people who developed the rules for the plague marines. Maybe they spent a bunch of time and made something neat, and then
No,
the
I
fact
imagine
that
it's true because, like, I think
it
it
was
adds,
probably fine. The
yeah, like
rules
it
were
adds
probably
stuff
fine.
where like your Blackstone Fortress characters and stuff. I think they can like get like diseases and stuff. So like I imagine it's interesting, and like if you played a lot of the game, it's
That would
probably a
probably
welcome
add a nice
addition.
element of something that could make your characters worse to have more of a like a feeling of progression and
Yeah,
gravity to
because
the situation. But
but like
I
I
don't know.
doubt many people bought it. Like in many regards, it almost would have been better if they just didn't have the models. But like
Yeah, if they just sold the rules, or
they couldn't really do that. But
they could have just put it into
like White
White
Dwarf or something.
Dwarf.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they've done that a number of times in the past.
yeah, they have a lot of, or I feel there's a lot of content that they have it like that. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel it would have been an easy thing to do that. I mean, I guess they probably made some new tiles and such, which they wouldn't have or wouldn't have easily been able to do with White Dwarf. But
Yes,
that
that's
actually
true.
gets me to thinking: the people in the chat, does anyone buy the new White Dwarf?
I haven't looked at one for a while. Like essentially, well, actually, that brings up another point. Has the digital version of it returned?
It has, but it's not before their digital version. They had like an app that they made like a digital thing.
Okay.
Now they've stopped that. Now they just kind of release like an EPUB of everyone.
Okay, so it's more like just like a PDF type thing.
Yeah, yeah. Fizilla, so you want to start buying it. You like, I would be. I almost feel like maybe I should get one of the issues and one of the newer ones just to see what it's like. Because I
Yeah, I'd
feel
actually be
they
interested in it.
they updated it maybe like a year ago, kind of based on one of those first big community polls. And when they did that, they removed the Bland Situ sections, and
So
then
that
I
was because of the
basically
community
lost
poll.
any interest in the magazine. But I did buy at least one of them, and it was fine.
Wait, Eli says don't. Is that in don't buy
I assume.
any of them?
So because they are like $8, but I kind of would be interested to see what they're like. Although I almost think like people thought about, oh, those glory days, those halcyon days, or we got new rules, and oh, I love new rules. And now it's just like every single thing is chock full of rules, but kind of like throwaway shit that you don't really care about. Like, oh, a new Blackstone Fortress thing where we had some new War Gear card or some scenario that's just as boring as all the other ones.
Captain Timberley says he got a few and they're pretty good.
All right, so maybe I need to
Eli
look.
says the moment I realized if I just wait 2 months and they'll put any exclusive rules in a single hard book, I decided I would never buy one again.
That's certainly true. That's certainly true. Does anyone? What's the most recent issue?
Yeah, so I mean, we when we were younger in like high school and stuff like that, we got most of them back when like if you subscribed to the magazine, they would send you like a box of like termagants or something for free to subscribe. Like there was it was very different. But I think even back then, like I don't probably the issues weren't like wildly good, and I just am thinking back on them with nostalgia and think they were great.
Yeah.
I do remember there was a time when they had like chapter approved articles where they had new lore and stuff, which was cool. And I don't know how much of that they still really do now, or if they've ever done that in the past few years.
I don't.
Okay. Eli says, honestly, a few drinks in, if you guys gave me a white dwarf that came out in the past 6 years and told me it was the current one, I would believe you. That's how BS the content is.
Okay, so it seems, for whatever reason, looking at it, they had been labeling the White Dwarf magazines as like White Dwarf April 2019, July 2019, but the first, it seems like the first, maybe the first issue of this year, they switched it to now it's Warhammer White Dwarf 450, and maybe the most recent one is 452. It's $10, and it has a really not well. I mean, it has the picture of like a space wolf riding a wolf on the front,
Cool, so you know
and in
it's
the front
cool.
they're like 160-page mega issue. It's like as if that would have, if anyone would care about that. But what's in it? Oh, there's an index of Startates for the Space Wolves. So exciting. It's an Adeptus Custodes. I don't know. Yeah, I feel. Oh, there's kill team rules for using Zotes in your games.
That's
That's
cool.
that's a thing. Warcry rules for using Lord of the Pits. Oh, there's a campaign for the Spire Tyrants, it seems.
Where are you seeing all this, Eric?
Oh, I'm looking at an iPad, but
So like I'm trying to like I found the subscription thing on Games Workshop site, but like, is there something where it will just show you what the current issue is?
probably not on their website. But if you go to
Oh yeah,
Warhammer Digital,
that's
that
probably a better way to look
that's
at
the
it.
better place. They have stuff.
Ooh,
It
that is a
seems there's
terrible
two
cover
new
looking.
narrative
Fuck.
scenarios for Adeptus Titanicus.
Yeah,
So it seems
goddamn.
like
If you had, when I was younger, if you had showed me this picture of this space wolf riding a wolf, I would have never looked into the game again, probably.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's bad.
It seems like the issues are just filled with little missions or scenarios and things for like all their different games, which is cool to a point. But at some point, I think like, well, I bought some Adeptus Titanicus Titans, but I never play it. Like, and I never play Warcry, and I never play this. And like to the point you feel like I don't play. The only game I play is, let's say, Kill Team. So like maybe some of those rules are interesting to you, but then having all these rules for Age of Sigmar and Necromunda and such seems like it's could be a little bloated with stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I'm somewhat intrigued to get an issue, but I feel I would just get it then not read it.
Let me enter. It says, "Oh, I remember something about how they're temporarily increase the page count because they're serializing one of the Black Library novels, one of the Sister of Battle ones, I think." Huh.
Oh yeah, I think I saw something in there.
Huh. Interesting.
Where it is.
Well, so that's another thing that would be interesting. So, like, they always at the beginning of the White Dwarfs, they have a thing their
Oh yeah,
contact.
Faith and Fire Part Two, the second installment of James Swallow's sister's novel. This, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
We a bunch of like us should like write letters to send in to see if they'd incorporate them in one of the magazines. I don't know what
We
we'd
pro-
want. What could we say that people would be interesting? Probably nothing. Well, actually,
I
so
love
here it
Warhammer.
says. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad they still make them.
Yeah, and so it does look like they do a lot more with like different rules and stuff for the different game systems and stuff, which I think is cool. Like I feel you really have to be into the notion of like actually playing the different games and stuff.
I guess it does come back to like the thing that I was always the most interested in more recent stuff was stuff like about conversions or stuff or like the Blanchett stuff just because, it showed more interesting models and not
Yeah.
just stuff out of the box. But that's not really a thing anymore. And I guess there's the digital magazine 28 that basically does that, but better. So, um,
Yeah, it's more akin to what I would want to see and read than
yeah. But it
yeah.
still
So
would be neat to see them do more of that.
well, actually, related to that. Were there questions about White Dwarf on the most recent like Games Workshop survey that they had? I
I
don't
don't
know.
remember. I don't remember them there being any, but there may have been.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
there may have been.
Well, whatever. Whatever. Yeah, Eric, you can
Oh,
get one and read it on your iPad and talk. We can talk
actually, I
about it
think
in the
I did
future.
get one. I think I did get one kind of recently. Can EPUB, because one of the issues I forgot. One of the issues had like a what was it?
Oh fuck! You know what? I might have as well. And
I
like,
think I got one because it had like a pronunciation guide in it for certain things, but I don't know what happened to it.
it made that much of an impression on you.
Yeah, I think I opened
Fuck.
it once and then stopped.
Fuck. I do have one. Shit. It's right here.
Yeah, so
Fuck. It made so much of an impression that I forgot about it. And like, fuck, I just bought it in like December. Jesus. Wow. I almost can't even believe that. Yeah, what's in here? Oh shit, and it
oh,
comes with like
I got the December issue too.
it has like a
So
little thing for Aeronauticus Imperialis and whoa.
God.
That's pathetic. It made that much it made that much of an impression that like I didn't even remember that I bought it. My god.
I think, yeah, I remember the reason why I was interested in that particular one was because there was like a pronunciation guide, and I thought that could be interesting, but then it was very minor. Like it was very short, like a page or two, and it wasn't as, I guess, as comprehensive as I had hoped it could be. Which, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
we all figured that, but and then I think the EPUB didn't really open well on a lot of like devices and such that it was also less desirable.
Maybe
Let's
I'll
see.
look I need to look through this.
Yeah, I think the actual printed issue would be nicer. Which towards that end, it's a shame that like 28 is cool and it's great, but man, it sure would be nice if that could be printed. And that's why it would be great if White Dwarf did get back into some of that stuff because having printed stuff is nice.
Yeah, it is.
But
Yeah, so I don't know. This
well,
this issue doesn't look like it's too bad. I mean, there's even stuff about like Talor and Desert Raiders and stuff. What? Huh. And they also look like they do have a fair amount of pictures talking about different models and stuff people have made, whether it's from the community or from people in.
hmm
So, like, that's overall pretty good. Huh. I don't know. Maybe next. So, everybody, maybe next week, um, if I spend the time to look through this issue and read some of the stuff, maybe we can talk about it.
yeah, I just brought up the December issue. So actually, there's a spotlight on Andrew Bailey's like a Kroot army, an Adeptus Mechanicus looking, or yeah, it looks like they took a bunch of Adeptus Mechanicus models and gave them like Kroot heads and whatnot. So
Hmm.
it counts as Adeptus Mechanicus Force, but they're like part of the Tao's Fourth Spear expansion. So that's neat. They're actually like a bunch of Kroot models kit bashed with like Adeptus Mechanicus Rangers or whatnot. So maybe these are better than. But yeah, there is an a pronunciation thing. Though, so the pronunciation for they have orc, and then so they want to talk about their favorite word, wah, and they say wah rhymes with far, but is much longer, and it can only be correctly pronounced at a deafening volume. Rhymes with far. It doesn't, because I've online and such and various podcasts and whatnot. Sometimes people pronounce wah as wag.
Oh God.
Like orcs scream wag, like the dog is wagging its tail. And
That's not right.
anyone who's still in the chat, do you think it's not pronounced wag, is it? God help us if it's pronounced wag. It's just like, how the fuck could it be pronounced like a screaming wag at the top of your lungs? It's just like,
Well, shit. It was. They probably said it in like
yeah.
the
So
computer games and shit, right?
yeah, so I think that when they say it rhymes with far but much longer, it's
So
like
yeah,
far, like war, like so. It basically sounds like sort
Dave
of,
X Dave says war like war.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I
so I
think
think
it's
that's
war, or yeah. So
that. I think they
it's
did.
yeah, but wag. It's just like, my God, how could, I mean,
Wag.
I'm sure, like, I pronounce shit all wrong all the time, like custodes, custodes. I don't know. Abaddon, Abaddon, all these things that could go this way or that, but Wah is not wag. Is there another thing? Adeptus custodes, custodes. Adeptus custodes is how custodes. So I always thought custodes sounded kind of dumb, but I guess that's it. In the same sense, it's Adeptus RBTs for the same.
It sounds kind of stupid, but whatever. Yeah.
But Adeptus Astartes is at least that. We said that right. Yeah, well, I'm terrible at pronouncing stuff, but
Yeah.
custodes. But yeah, so the pronunciation thing is kind of nice, but as I sort of suggested, it was a little bit, uh,
Anemic.
yes, more anemic than I was hoping for. Like 2 pages, or like 1 page for Age of Sigmar. Well, it's like 1.5 pages for Age of Sigmar and 1.5 pages for 40k.
Why do they even have one for Age of Sigmar? No one even remembers what they call any of that shit, right? I mean, I guess if you play it, maybe you do, but like, what are you? Yeah, like I don't know. What are the iconic Age of Sigmar things? Like, what even? Give me some examples.
Skaven.
Oh, so it's just so it's so okay. So more
They
like
do have
Warhammer.
Ideneth,
Oh, that's
Sylvaneth,
true.
Dor. So it's basically just all the like their copyrighted word for elf, their copyrighted word for
Okay.
dwarf,
Yeah.
and like it's mainly just those things.
Okay, that makes sense.
Nagash. We've been pronouncing Nagash right. 3 cheers. Oh, perhaps the best, one of the better things to have a thing for the different corn is pronounced corn.
Yeah.
Slanesh is pronounced. Um, Nurgle is, yeah. Zinch is pronounced. Yeah, so at least I'm pronouncing the Chaos Gods right.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good to know. Matters a lot. Well, okay. So I don't know. Maybe we can wrap up the stream now. Like I don't know. We're sort of just
Rambling.
rambling about stuff now. Um,
Yeah, we are.
yeah. Well, I guess thanks everybody for joining us today, tonight, this afternoon, this morning, wherever it is for you. It's been fun. We'll, at the very least, we'll talk to you again the same time next week.
Wait,
But
here it says it's pronounced Abaddon. Abaddon.
okay.
But then it also says, so some say Abaddon.
So
So,
it doesn't even matter.
yeah, so they don't actually really clarify it.
That's good. But yeah, so I was saying, like, we'll certainly be here again next week at roughly the same time. But we might also have another stream this Saturday when Games Workshop does their reveals again, and we'll.
It's probably at the same time, but I don't know.
Okay.
I guess we'll
Yeah.
let people know when we know
Yeah, if
better.
we're doing that, we'll talk about and laugh about the new releases.
And get really excited about them.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. But yeah,
Really.
thanks everyone for coming out. Stay safe. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Keep enjoying the hobby, and
Yeah. Until next time, everybody.
yeah,
and
we'll
out.
talk to you again soon. See you, everybody.